You've been lied to. Since childhood, society has whispered sweet illusions into your ear: spend to impress, show off your success, be liked, be loved, fit in. They tell you virtue is humility, kindness is your shield, and visibility equals value. But I'm here to shatter every one of these illusions. The truth? Most people are weak because they live at the mercy of others' expectations. They give power away unknowingly to the hungry eyes of judgment, to the petty envy of observers who have no stake in their life but to see them stumble. Now, listen carefully. There is power in restraint. There is strategy in silence. There is dominance in controlling what others perceive, while quietly building a life they cannot anticipate. Dare to live below your means and above their expectations. Let them wonder, let them whisper, let them envy, while you thrive, untouched, unstoppable, unbound. If you are ready to claim the psychological high ground of your life, repeat in the comments, "I choose power. My silence is power. I own my worth." Say it. Own it. Let your words be the spark of the fire you are about to ignite. Keynote 1. Stop worshipping appearances. The world has trained you to value what is seen over what is real. From the moment you are born, whispers seep into your consciousness. Be impressive. Show them you are successful. Make them notice. Schools, media, peers, society itself, they all conspire to make you believe that visibility equals worth. But this is a trap, an insidious trap that slowly leeches your power, your freedom, and your capacity to control your life. The truly powerful understand one brutal truth: appearances are a weapon, if you know how to wield them, but a leash, if you are blind to their weight. Most people spend their entire lives parading a false image, desperately seeking approval, chasing envy, living in the shallow applause of those who have nothing of value to offer. They are slaves to perception, blind to the quiet, strategic power of discretion. Imagine for a moment the quiet strength of restraint. Imagine holding your cards close, letting the world think you are less, weaker, or simpler than you truly are. Every unnecessary display, every extravagance meant to impress, is a gift to the opportunists, the manipulators, the predators, waiting to exploit your overexposure. But when you choose to live below what society expects, when you master the art of subtlety and reserve, you flip the game entirely. You become the shadow they cannot read, the enigma they cannot predict. While they exhaust themselves trying to maintain appearances, you are building influence, wealth, and power silently, with ruthless precision. Living below your means is not weakness. It is strategy. It is control. It is freedom wrapped in invisibility. They will wonder at your simplicity, misjudge your capability, and underestimate your reach. And this quiet misjudgment is where your advantage lies. Every smile you withhold, every luxury you refuse to flaunt, every approval you do not seek, becomes a tool in your arsenal. You are rewriting the rules of the game while they remain trapped by the shallow rules of display. This is the art of real power, the understanding that to be above expectations you must first be invisible to them, a silent force moving undetected, untouchable, and unstoppable. Keynote 2. Silence is a sword. The world rewards the loud, the boastful, the ones who clamor for attention, but this is an illusion. Every time you feel compelled to explain yourself, justify your actions, or defend your choices, you surrender power. Every word spilled carelessly is ammunition handed to those who seek to control, manipulate, or diminish you. Society conditions you to believe that expression equals honesty, that speech equals strength, but the truth is the opposite. True strength, the kind that moves kingdoms, influences decisions, and commands respect, resides in measured restraint. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is a sword. It is a weapon sharper than any dagger, more precise than any strategy, more terrifying than any confrontation. Consider this. Every time you speak, you reveal more than you realize. Your thoughts, your insecurities, your plans, they slip through cracks you cannot see. The powerful do not need to justify themselves. They do not need to explain why they act, or who they are, or what they intend. They act, they move, and the world responds. Those around them are left guessing, miscalculating, and ultimately powerless against the unseen force they cannot comprehend. Silence creates mystery. Silence cultivates authority. It forces others to fill the gaps with assumptions, often assumptions that exaggerate your influence and intimidate your adversaries. But mastering silence requires discipline. You must resist the compulsion to react, to engage in every debate, to respond to every slight. Every moment you withhold your voice, every calculated pause, every measured omission, you are building an invisible fortress around yourself. You are protecting your strategies, your resources, and your ambitions from those who would exploit your transparency. Let them talk. Let them chatter. Let them underestimate. Their noise is your camouflage, their assumptions your shield. Silence is also a mirror. It reflects the weakness of others. While they scramble to prove, to justify, to be heard, you stand unshaken, observing, absorbing, calculating. Their desperation becomes a map, revealing their vulnerabilities, their desires, their fears. You do not need to act hastily. You do not need to expose your hand. The less you reveal, the more you command. The more you withhold, the more they project. And in those projections, you find opportunity, leverage, and control. Your restraint becomes irresistible. Your quiet becomes dominance. Keynote 3. Manipulate perception, not reality. The weak are obsessed with truth. They believe that if they work hard, act honestly, and speak plainly, the world will bend in their favor. But reality is not shaped by effort alone. It is shaped by perception. The world reacts not to truth. It reacts to what it believes to be true. And those who understand this principle control everything: opportunities, influence, and even the fate of others. Your reality, your actions, your intentions, they matter far less than the perception others form of you. The clever do not spend their lives correcting misjudgments. They craft them. They mold the way the world sees them. Like a sculptor chiseling marble, deliberate and patient, every gesture precise, every silence measured. Perception is power. If people see you as weak, unprepared, or insignificant, they will underestimate you, and underestimation is the most dangerous weapon you can wield. It allows you to move undetected, strike unchallenged, and accumulate influence while others scramble to assert themselves in a world they only partially understand. If they overestimate you, the result is even more advantageous. Fear, envy, respect, they all become tools you can manipulate to your advantage. The important thing is not to control reality itself, but to control the story others tell themselves about it. Their assumptions become your battlefield. Their ignorance becomes your strategic advantage. Do not confuse this with deceit for the sake of petty gain. This is higher strategy, the orchestration of perception, so that it aligns with your long-term objectives. Let them assume. Let them speculate. Let them marvel or fear. Your moves are deliberate, unseen, untouchable. While they spend energy trying to uncover every detail, you are quietly achieving everything that matters. Every carefully curated action, every hidden plan, every calculated display, or lack thereof, shapes their perception into a tool that bends the world toward you. And here is the ultimate truth. Perception, once mastered, becomes a self-reinforcing force. The more others believe in your control, your skill, your cunning, the more they act in ways that benefit you, often without realizing it. They are puppets to the image you project, and you are the master quietly pulling strings. The world responds not to your intentions, but to the version of yourself you allow them to see, your silence, your reserve, your selective revelation. They are all instruments of dominance. Every glance, every word, every omission has meaning. Your life is no longer a series of reactions. It is a battlefield, and perception is your sword, your shield, and your most lethal weapon. Keynote 4. Convert jealousy into fuel. Jealousy is not a curse. It is not something to fear or suppress. It is the most honest reflection of power. When someone envies you, it is because they recognize, consciously or not, the influence, skill, or potential you hold. Society has conditioned you to see envy as hostility, to take it personally, to feel shame for provoking it. But the wise understand the brutal truth. Jealousy is a map of opportunity. It exposes the weak spots in your environment, the insecurities of others, and the energy that can be harnessed if you refuse to be diminished by it. Every glance of envy, every whispered complaint, every begrudging admiration is fuel, raw, unfiltered, and immensely powerful, if only you choose to wield it. Most people run from envy. They hide their success, downplay their achievements, and dilute their power to avoid provoking others. They fear the discomfort of attention, the subtle attacks, the judgment, and in doing so, they shrink themselves. They fail to realize that those who are envious are already acknowledging your dominance in some form. They are involuntary witnesses to your rise, unwilling participants in the narrative of your ascent. The powerful do the opposite. They lean into envy. They allow it to illuminate their progress, to sharpen their awareness, and to fuel their ambition. Each moment of envy directed at you is a mirror showing what you have accomplished, what you are capable of, and what you are yet to conquer. This is not cruelty, it is strategy. Instead of shrinking from attention, you amplify your focus. Instead of resenting the judgment of others, you convert it into clarity. Every envious glance is a lesson. Every whispered critique a reminder of your capacity to influence, intimidate, and inspire without effort. Jealousy reveals weakness, not in you, but in them, their inability to match your discipline, vision, and restraint. It is a signal they cannot reach you, and in their limitation you find validation, confidence, and momentum. The energy of envy, when harnessed, can drive innovation, mastery, and unshakable focus. You are not victim to the emotions of others. You are the master of your own response. Their jealousy is not a threat. It is a compass pointing toward your power, an acknowledgement of your dominance. And when you accept this truth, every act of envy becomes a stepping stone. Every begrudging gaze becomes a spark lighting the fire of your relentless ascent, guiding you toward influence and authority they cannot comprehend. Keynote 5. Break the chains of false virtues. Society has spent centuries convincing you that virtue is a passive shield, that kindness is a currency you must spend endlessly, and that approval is a reward you must constantly seek. From childhood, you are taught to give without calculation, to sacrifice without question, to serve without strategy. But every act of unmeasured generosity, every desperate attempt to be liked, every surrender to the expectations of others, is a chain that binds you to mediocrity, to manipulation, and to the ambitions of those who do not have your interest at heart. The weak mistake compliance for morality, obedience for virtue, and availability for strength. The powerful understand that true virtue is never blind. It is selective, deliberate, and calculated. Imagine the freedom of acting according to strategy rather than expectation. Imagine the control you wield when every choice is measured, every gesture intentional, and every act of generosity serves a purpose beyond the shallow eyes of observers. Power is built in the intersection of self-interest and strategic action. Giving indiscriminately does not make you good. It makes you predictable, exploitable, and weak. Pleasing everyone does not make you liked. It makes you irrelevant, a servant to the noise of the masses, forever dangling your value where others can take it at will. When you withhold, when you reserve, when you give with precision and intent, you transform virtue into influence. The world will call this selfishness. The timid will whisper cold or calculating. Let them. They do not understand the architecture of dominance, the silent infrastructure of power built from patience, restraint, and tactical action. Every refusal to bend to false expectation, every measured act of generosity, every refusal to seek hollow approval strengthens you, sharpens your autonomy, and isolates your ambitions from the petty interference of those who would undermine you. Breaking the chains of false virtues is not cruelty, it is liberation. It is the realization that your value is not determined by the applause of others, but by the control you maintain over your own choices, actions, and destiny. The more you act with purpose, the more your influence grows, the more invisible yet unassailable you become. You no longer live as a pawn to societal morality. You live as a master, orchestrating your moves, directing outcomes, and allowing your selective generosity to strike precisely where it amplifies power, rewards loyalty, and consolidates control. Keynote 6. Obscurity breeds opportunity. The world celebrates visibility. It hails the loud, the public, the ones whose every move is broadcast for applause or scrutiny. But those who understand the rules of power know the truth. Exposure is vulnerability, attention is a leash, and the most dangerous moves are made in silence. Obscurity is not weakness, it is strategy. It is the quiet, invisible force that allows you to move undetected, to observe, to plan, and to strike at exactly the right moment. The masses are trapped by the illusion that being seen equates to influence. But the wise thrive in the spaces where others cannot reach them, in the shadows where observation turns into insight, and where restraint becomes advantage. Consider the power of being underestimated. When others cannot read you, they miscalculate. When they assume you are ordinary, their defenses lower. Every moment spent unnoticed is a chance to gather intelligence, to consolidate resources, and to refine your strategy without interference. Your absence is a form of control. They do not know your next move, and that uncertainty alone grants you dominance. They are running blind, chasing illusions, while you are navigating reality with precision and foresight. Obscurity is the canvas on which mastery is painted. The less they understand, the more room you have to construct, to manipulate, to ascend. There is also a psychological weapon hidden in absence. People naturally fill gaps with speculation, projection, and imagination. Let them project what they will: fear, admiration, envy. Their assumptions become tools in your hands. Their curiosity, their anxiety, their misjudgments, they are all instruments that amplify your influence without a single word from you. While they scramble to make sense of your silence, you act with clarity, discipline, and unchallenged purpose. Obscurity is not retreat. It is positioning. It is leverage. It is the deliberate cultivation of invisibility so that when the moment arrives, your presence lands with unanticipated impact and your influence resonates far beyond the reach of those who failed to see you coming. Obscurity breeds freedom. It shields you from judgment, manipulation, and the trivial interference of those who cannot comprehend your vision. It allows you to operate in the margins of perception, where your enemies and competitors are blind, and where opportunity waits patiently for the one who dares to move unseen. In obscurity, the game is yours to define, the battlefield is yours to shape, and the outcome is yours to command. Keynote 7. Master timing, not impulse. Impulse is the enemy of power. Society rewards the fast, the reactive, the loud, but it punishes the uncalculated, the hasty, the undisciplined. The world will tell you to act quickly, to seize every opportunity, to respond immediately to every slight or challenge. They call this courage. They call it initiative. But the truth is brutal. Acting without timing is acting without control. It is the hallmark of weakness. Those who master timing understand that every action, every word, every movement is part of a larger architecture. Power is not a series of reactions. It is a carefully constructed sequence of calculated strikes, perfectly aligned with circumstance and opportunity. Imagine for a moment the difference between impulse and strategy. The impulsive are visible, predictable, and easily countered. Their actions leave footprints, expose vulnerabilities, and invite retaliation. The calculated strike, on the other hand, lands like a shadow in the night, precise, undeniable, and devastatingly effective. Mastering timing means observing the currents of human behavior, reading the subtleties of desire, fear, and expectation, and acting only when the conditions perfectly favor your success. Every pause, every delay, every moment of apparent inaction is part of the grand strategy. It is the invisible thread that pulls the world toward your advantage. Timing also grants leverage over others. Those who act impulsively reveal their priorities, their weaknesses, their impatience. You, by contrast, wait, watch, and learn. You allow others to overreach, to exhaust themselves, to miscalculate. Their desperation becomes your opportunity, their haste your advantage, and their assumptions your instrument. There is power in patience, in knowing when to strike, and in making the world wait for your actions. The suspense, the uncertainty, the deliberate pacing, these are all weapons, and mastery of timing requires more than patience. It requires courage and self-discipline. You must resist the pull of instant gratification, the desire to prove yourself, the societal pressure to perform. You must act only when you are certain the moment belongs to you, when your moves are invisible yet inevitable, when every variable aligns to amplify your influence. Timing transforms your presence from ordinary to extraordinary. It turns your actions into inevitabilities and your success into a force that cannot be resisted. Keynote 8. Live below, ascend beyond. The world will try to chain you to its measure of worth. It will tell you that status is shown, that value is displayed, that influence is proven by what others can see. Society rewards the ostentatious, the loud, the flashy, but it punishes restraint, foresight, and subtle mastery. Most people live as if life were a stage, performing for an audience of judgmental observers, squandering energy to maintain appearances, exhausting themselves to match expectations that were never meant for them. But the powerful understand the cruelest, most liberating truth. Your life's true value is measured not by what you display, but by what you quietly command. To ascend, you must first master the art of living below expectation, of embracing obscurity, and of keeping your ambitions invisible until they are unstoppable. Living below your means is not deprivation, it is control. Every resource you conserve, every indulgence you delay, every luxury you refuse to flaunt is a step toward freedom. You are no longer a puppet to perception. You are the architect of consequence. The world does not dictate your power. You dictate how it will perceive you when it will witness you, and how far your influence will extend. While others exhaust themselves proving worth to those who will never understand, you accumulate wealth, wisdom, and strength, quietly, deliberately, without distraction. Your restraint becomes an unspoken authority, a subtle intimidation, and a signal that your power cannot be measured by appearances alone. Ascending beyond expectation requires courage. It requires resisting the temptation to conform, to show off, to justify, or to compete on a level dictated by the weak. Let them speculate. Let them whisper. Let them overestimate or underestimate your capacity. It does not matter. Their assumptions are inconsequential. What matters is the empire you build in shadows, the influence you cultivate in silence, the power you assemble beneath their gaze. Every decision, every sacrifice, every act of measured restraint strengthens your position and enlarges the gap between what they expect and what you are capable of delivering. This strategy creates inevitability. By living below, you disarm envy, you misdirect scrutiny, and you minimize threats. By ascending beyond, you maximize impact, amplify influence, and transform surprise into dominance. You move unseen, untouchable, and unstoppable, while the world remains bound by its own illusions. In this careful balance, restraint becomes your foundation, invisibility becomes your cloak, and your quiet accumulation becomes the unstoppable force that ensures the world can never predict your ascent. Now you see the truth they've been hiding from you. Power is not given. Influence is not earned through approval, visibility, or compliance. It is seized in silence, honed in restraint, and weaponized through strategy. Every illusion society taught you of virtue as weakness, of generosity as moral currency, of visibility as worth, was designed to make you small, predictable, and controllable. But you are no longer small. You are no longer bound by expectation. You have learned to wield silence as a sword, to manipulate perception like a battlefield, to convert envy into fuel, and to live deliberately below their gaze while rising far beyond their understanding. This is your awakening. The path is not easy. The whispers of envy, doubt, and impatience will challenge you. The world will test your restraint, your patience, and your cunning. But every challenge is an opportunity, a chance to sharpen your mind, expand your influence, and solidify your control. You are no longer a pawn in the theater of societal expectation. You are the strategist, the shadow, the force moving unseen, shaping outcomes and defining your own destiny. The question now is simple. Which of these rules has stolen your power the longest? Which illusions have bound you, weakened you, or kept you dancing to someone else's tune? Face it, name it, own it, and use that knowledge to rise higher, strike smarter, and command the life that is rightfully yours. Remember this above all else: restraint is dominance, invisibility is influence, timing is power, and perception is your battlefield. Every choice you make, every move you conceal, every calculated act of silence and action builds a fortress around your freedom and an empire beneath your unseen hand. Repeat it with me, and let it burn into your mind and your being. I control my destiny.